Welcome to the Dakota County Community Development Agency, also known as CDA, New Admission Briefing. You are being offered rental assistance today through a program administered by the Dakota County CDA. The CDA administers its program on behalf of its funders. The programs have many complex regulatory requirements. The CDA does not always have discretion in how the program operates. Your participation is voluntary. If at any time you do not agree with providing or completing the requested paperwork, you can choose not to. However, the CDA will not be able to provide you rental assistance. Because you meet the eligibility requirements, the Dakota County CDA is able to issue you a housing choice voucher. To utilize the voucher, you will need to find a unit that accepts you as a renter and works with the HCV program. The unit will also need to be affordable, meaning you will pay 40% or less of your monthly adjusted income for rent and utilities at initial lease up. Search time. The voucher is valid for 120 days. This means that you have 120 days from the date you receive your voucher to find affordable and suitable housing. The Dakota County CDA only offers voucher extensions as reasonable accommodations for persons with disabilities. Rent calculation. You will pay a minimum of 30% of your gross income towards rent and utilities. Gross income is before any deductions, for example, taxes or medical insurance. You cannot pay more than 40% of your gross income at the time your rental assistance starts. The CDA has determined 30 and 40% of your income based on the information you reported and the verifications that were used to determine your eligibility. Please review your personalized rent calculation worksheet. Subsidy standards. The CDA will determine the appropriate size voucher for your household by applying the following criteria. The first bedroom is allocated to the head, co-head, and spouse. Subsequent bedrooms are allocated to each two persons regardless of age, gender, or relationship. The CDA does not determine sleeping arrangements. Subsidy standards are used to determine the amount of subsidy that can be paid on behalf of a household. You can rent a unit with more bedrooms than stated on your voucher. However, the subsidy provided is based on the bedroom size on your voucher. You may rent a unit with fewer bedrooms than stated on your voucher. However, there must not be more than 2 persons per living or sleeping area. If renting a unit with fewer bedrooms than your voucher, the CDA will use the unit size to determine affordability and level of subsidy. Regardless of the unit size you choose, it must be affordable. Affordability will be discussed later. Payment standards. The payment standard is the maximum amount of subsidy your household is eligible for based on your voucher size. The chart on the screen shows the current Dakota County CDA payment standards. Maximum gross rent is the payment standard plus the extra you can pay based on your income. This document informs you of the maximum amount of rent you may pay, including tenant-paid utilities. After completing this briefing, the steps to getting assistance started are to select an affordable unit and obtain approval from the owner or landlord. On the screen is the request for tenancy approval. This form can be given to the landlord to complete and return to the Dakota County CDA. Please sign, date, and put your phone number on the back of the request for tenancy approval. The RTA form is due on the 15th of the month prior to assistance beginning. For example, an RTA submitted on December 15th would be the deadline for January housing assistance to begin. Unit requirements. Affordability. The CDA must determine that you will not pay more than 40% of your income towards gross rent, which is the rent plus the utility allowance. The rent must also be reasonable. The CDA will compare the rent requested by the landlord with other similar units to ensure it is reasonable. If the unit you choose does not meet affordability or rent reasonableness, the CDA will promptly notify you. You will then continue your housing search. The CDA must conduct and pass a housing quality standards inspection. The CDA will coordinate the scheduling of this inspection with you or the landlord. You cannot own or have ownership in the unit in which you are being assisted. You cannot rent from a relative. Your landlord cannot live in the rental unit. If an RTA is approved, the CDA will prepare the required paperwork. You will be sent a rent allocation form. Keep this document as proof of your rental portions. You must sign a 1-year lease. Contracts will be sent to the landlord for signature. Payment cannot be made until they are returned. The landlord has 60 days to return the executed contracts. Failure to do so will result in the landlord losing rental assistance. The landlord must also provide the CDA with a copy of the 1-year lease. Housing Quality Standards Inspection. The inspection will be conducted on the first business day of the month, generally between 8 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. You will be required to have an adult home to let the inspector in. If the unit is vacant prior to the first, the inspector may attempt to inspect the unit by contacting the owner or landlord. Units cannot be inspected until the previous tenants have moved out. The unit must be inspected and passed before your assistance can begin. If the inspector is not able to gain access to the unit on the first attempt, they will make 2 additional attempts. Failure to cooperate with the inspection process will result in your file being closed and your name being removed from the waiting list. The inspection is valid for 24 months. Assistance will begin on the day the inspection passes. If the unit does not pass or the inspection is not complete on or before the first business day of the month, assistance will not start immediately. The CDA's rent portion will be prorated based on the number of days in the month your assistance starts. For example, 31 days for January or 28 for February. If your unit fails, call and remind your landlord to make the necessary repairs. The CDA will also send a letter to the landlord indicating the items needing repair. Once the repairs are made, immediately contact the inspector to set up a re-inspection. You can use this checklist to ensure your unit is ready for inspection. Some common fail items include but are not limited to carbon monoxide detectors, faucets, windows and screens, light fixtures, outlets and switches, tripping hazards, toilets, tubs and showers, a non-functioning garbage disposal, and the stove or oven. Expanding housing opportunities. The CDA recommends selecting a unit in an area with lower levels of poverty. Your materials contain a map of areas of concentration in Dakota County and the metro area. Lead-based paint. Lead paint is an invisible danger. Children affected by lead paint poisoning can suffer from lower intelligence, learning disabilities, and behavioral issues. If your unit was built before 1978 and you have children under age 6, there cannot be any chipping or peeling paint inside or outside the property. Lead paint must be removed properly, which can be time-consuming and expensive. When properly maintained and managed, this paint poses little risk. Fair housing. Owners or landlords are not required to participate in the HCV program, but cannot deny housing based on the following protected classes: race, religion, marital status, sexual orientation, color, national origin, disability, familial status, creed, sex, or public assistance. If you feel you have been discriminated against, you can file a fair housing complaint by visiting www.hud.gov. Calculating income. Income is projected or anticipated for the 12 months following your rental assistance beginning. Fluctuations such as hours or rate of pay are considered in the calculation. Estimates based on work history may be used if that is the best indicator. This may include the use of your taxes. Any reported change in income will be reviewed and adjustments made when warranted. Verifications of income. If you own your own business, or are self-employed, the CDA may use your taxes to verify your income. For seasonal employment, the CDA will review wages earned and unemployment. For example, if you work for a school district September through June each year, 10 months of employment and 2 months of unemployment would be counted in your annual income. Your rent portion for July and August will not be zero, but will remain the same. Enterprise Income Verification. The CDA is mandated to use the Enterprise Income Verification or EIV system through HUD. This system provides the following information: Social Security benefits paid, unemployment benefits paid, employment information, which can include place of employment, hire date, and wages. It is imperative you report all changes. Failure to do so will result in termination of housing assistance benefits. Reporting changes as an applicant. You are considered an applicant until a housing assistance payment has been made on your behalf. It is recommended you keep your income source stable throughout this process. This will help to ensure you are able to begin assistance without delays. Report changes in writing as soon as they occur. Changes will impact your rent and the amount you can afford for a unit. Reporting changes as a participant. Changes must be reported in writing within 30 days of the change. It is preferred that you use the change report form provided in your paperwork by calling the CDA or visiting www.dakotacda.org. This helps ensure the information gets in the correct file and helps the CDA respond in a timely manner. Reporting household composition changes as a participant. Report the birth, adoption, and court-awarded custody of any children. The CDA must approve additions to the household. This must be done prior to anyone moving into the assisted unit. Guests are allowed to stay for 15 days in a 12-month period. Anything greater than this must be approved in advance by the CDA. You are not allowed to be out of the assisted unit for more than 30 days unless medically necessary. If you are expecting to be out of the assisted unit for an extended period of time, you must notify the CDA in advance. Reporting income changes as a participant. All increases and decreases must be reported within 30 days. Report money all household members are receiving. The CDA will notify you in writing if the change results in a change to the rent portions. If there is a change, an updated rent allocation sheet will be sent to you and your landlord. Failure to report changes may result in you needing to pay back the CDA for overpaid housing assistance. Moving. You will not be permitted to move until you have fulfilled your first year of rental assistance, the 1-year lease. A move will only be permitted if you leave your current unit in good standing. We will not assist in a new unit if you have damaged the unit beyond normal wear and tear, have not given proper notice, or owe money to the landlord or the CDA. Portability. Portability refers to using your voucher outside of Dakota County. Your voucher can be ported to any housing authority in the United States. You will be required to use the payment standard and utility allowance for the area you are moving to. If you want to port your voucher, you should inquire with the housing authority to see how their policies may differ, and be prepared to pay the first month of rent. Gaps in assistance are more likely. Successful program participation. Understand that failing to comply with program rules will result in termination of assistance. Remind family members and guests to adhere to your landlord and the HCV program rules and regulations. Report all changes in household composition, income, or assets to the CDA timely, within 30 days. Do not, under any circumstance, allow anyone to stay or live in the assisted unit without permission from the CDA or your landlord. Or let anyone use your assisted address to receive mail, register their vehicle, or use your address on their photo IDs. Attend all required meetings, including the HQS inspection. Supply all information required to calculate your subsidy. Refrain from illegal drug and alcohol abuse and violent activities. This includes all household members and visitors. Avoid threatening or abusive behavior toward your landlord, neighbors, and CDA staff. Pay rent on time and maintain your unit. Provide proper notice to your landlord and the CDA before vacating your unit. Court-awarded evictions are a mandatory termination from the program. Next steps. Return the following signed documents to validate your voucher: the Housing Choice Voucher, the Statement of Tenant Responsibilities, Calculation Worksheet, and the Housing Assistance Briefing Acknowledgement. Locate an affordable unit. Return the completed RTA form by the 15th of the month prior to when you would like assistance to begin, and contact the CDA with any questions. The form shown on the screen is the Housing Choice Voucher. Where highlighted, sign and date, and return a copy to the CDA. This voucher will not be valid until received by the CDA with a signature and a date. This is the Applicant Tenant Certification and Statement of Tenant Responsibilities form. Review this form carefully, as these are your responsibilities as a program participant. All household members must sign and date this form, and it must be returned with the voucher to validate the voucher. The next form is the Calculation Worksheet. Review your portions carefully, sign, date, and return with other requested documents. Next is the Housing Assistance Briefing Acknowledgement form. This form acknowledges that you have viewed this briefing and understand all of the requirements of you as a program participant or applicant of the HCV program. Tips for success. Select a unit at or below your eligible payment standard. Use the CDA Rent Affordability Calculator. Visit www.dakotacda.org. In the search box, type Rent Affordability Calculator and hit Enter. Scroll down the page and click on the Rent Affordability Calculator and enter the requested information. Find a unit that suits your needs, for example, location and amenities. Bring your RTA with you when looking at units. If you have any questions, please contact the Dakota County CDA New Admission Housing Specialist at 651-675-4542 or call the Dakota County CDA's main office line at 651-675-4400. More resources are available on the Dakota County CDA's website at www.dakotacda.org.